If somebody hacked this and we all have alien heads. I knew it. No, we're ready when, yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks. All right, that was Dan telling us we're good to go. There was some trouble with the stream, but it's all fine and we are live now. So we are here for the City Council work session. This is actually a conclusion to our retreat that was held some time ago. And who should I turn it over to? Go ahead, let's do it.
Thank you. I'm Ed Manning. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to work with all of you. Some of you again, some of you for the first time. First, let me just say thank you for your time and your service to our community. I know this is often a thankless job with lots of hours, and just want to say how much I appreciate you stepping up and taking a leadership role in our community. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Our council session, our work session as I understand it, our session objective today is to take the statements you created, I think it was during a March retreat, and prioritize those in order to develop broad goal statements that really give direction for the city staff and show the impact and accomplishment of each of those priority areas that you've outlined. Our agenda, we're in this welcome and overview. We'll go right into prioritizing using Mentimeter, and then we'll have you break into small groups and work on developing the goal statements. A single sentence statement, so this is not, doesn't need to be difficult. Then we'll talk about next steps. Any questions? All good? Just some guidelines I typically use in sessions I do. First of all, respect for the process, respect for other people's ideas, but respect for yourself. Take care of your needs. You know, if you need to take a break or something, just let me know. We'll do that. Okay? Big thing is keep it at a high level. Council's job, of course, is to set direction, and by setting direction, turn it over to the staff so that they can figure out the details and the how-tos and that kind of stuff. With that, I just want to remind you of the priority areas. You had 6 areas designated: improve and expand core services, reparations, reimagining public safety, homelessness strategies, equitable and affordable housing and stability, and neighborhood and climate resilience. Nothing new, right? Your homework was to look through all of those statements that you created at the retreat and prioritize them so that you come in ready to vote. And we'll be using Mentimeter today to do that. You should already be logged in on your computer, so you should be seeing this screen on your computer. If you're not, raise a hand, Jim will come get you set up. I hope. Everybody see it? Great.
Wait, we gotta enter the.
It's one of the.
Oh, do you need to enter that code?
No, I don't think so.
No, you should be in. We tried to set those up for you so you didn't have to do anything. It just should say, welcome to Mentimeter. What I do want to do is just a quick test, make sure everybody's there and it's working. What's one thing that you, one thing about Asheville that you're really grateful for? 4 people have answered, 5, 6. And in this one, you can answer twice, but I am testing to make sure we can all get in and do it. Did anybody not get a chance to do that?
I am not on.
Okay. I was wondering because I only have 6 answers, so, or 6 people responding.
Yeah,
You're sure
there's no
Mentimeter's
Mentimeter
missing.
included here.
Oh, here you go. Let's start your new tab. Take this. Menti. And
Menti.com.
menti.com. / Oh, sorry. You can do a plus here. Then menti, menti.com / ready? And this is a weird series.
It's not that great.
It's the mayor. Who wrote that?
Wasn't me.
I don't know the code.
It's probably
I kind of
Jamie.
like it too.
Hey, Maggie.
72318516. There you go. one thing. Oh, that was me, the mayor, sorry.
All good?
Thanks, Jamie.
Let's go over here on, go ahead and enter something,
We all
just
know
so I
what
know it's
story notes
working
are.
on my end. I can see 7 people have responded. Awesome.
Me,
Good. Perfect.
Me too, Sandra.
me too,
That's good.
the vice mayor.
All right, so what I've done is we've taken the core, the priority areas that you identified and the statements within it, and we put them on here. Your homework was to go through those because there's no way you can read them from here, or if you do, you've got much better eyes than I. But there were 6 under improve and expand core services. The first was review and assess infrastructure needs to prioritize and develop a financial plan for future investment or a bond package. Second was implement the findings of the independent review committee to improve water infrastructure and emergency planning. Advance community engagement and information sharing. Fill or contract out staffing positions to provide basic functions like cleanliness, public safety, and service provisions. Clean and safe environment for residents, and improve public-facing amenities like parking, signage, garage maintenance, lighting, trash receptacles, potholes, parking, etc. Your task was to pick your top 3. You have 3 dots, and so you should have a list of these on your screen, and you're going to click the radial button next to your top 3. When you do, it'll place your dots on the screen for us.
I have a question before we get into ranking.
Please.
I'd like to add one to our list. When do I do that?
Yeah, that's another session. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go into adding those.
Well,
Well, I mean,
To-
isn't this for us,
Is
right?
it under this
Is it
category?
under-
It's not under this
Okay,
category.
why don't we,
Add it at a later one.
or, yeah, when we're in the category, you know, I do think, I know you guys worked so hard and we want to do this and we're gonna get through it and I feel confident and I've done my homework and I've done this. I think some of these categories lend themselves well to ranking and some of them don't. So, I mean, in terms of what's in them, and then there's the whole issue of, is there anything missing?
Yeah, and you know, we wrote these 3 months ago. Several of the things are already like
Right.
on the way, and
And we can
insight.
also write it up here.
Okay.
And,
And what I want you to remember is that we're actually gonna work from details back to bigger picture.
Great.
So writing it down is fine, we wanna make sure we capture it. But you're gonna be taking the top priorities and then creating much broader, bigger statements that give direction.
Okay.
so, and here's another underlying kind of issue. For example, number 3, advanced community engagement and information sharing. This is happening. So if we don't pick it, does it stop happening? No. So, I mean, does that mean we don't need to pick it because it is happening? Because if it's a priority of ours? So that, you know, to me, you know, and then number 5, clean and safe environment for residents. That's completely covered in another category. So, you know, there's some assumptions I'm making here in doing these rankings, which is if it's already happening, I don't need to pick it. And if it's covered in another category,
Don't need to
I'm
pick
gonna
it
wait
either.
till I get to that category, so I'm not gonna pick it.
Right.
That's why I brought that up on Thursday, is in the past, we've done like a, what's already operationalized, and that's when we had the conversation about, do some things need to roll off? Because we haven't mentioned anywhere in here the disparity study, strategic partnership funds for the opportunity gap, equity action plan, the substations, the pit of opportunity, or this long list of stuff that's already operationalized. So I did apply this in my homework to see what was already getting done, but if we don't vote for it, does it roll off? That's the part, it's
Right,
like,
I see,
And right now, my understanding is it doesn't roll off, because what we're gonna try and do is take these up to a higher level so it includes more. So that they can get direction and then come back and tell you, okay, well, here are the things we are doing and here's the things we wanna continue doing. Here's the more that we wanna add, and then you can say, great or no. Does that make more sense?
So like, for example, in the affordable housing section, there's a handful of these that to me
are happening.
are happening and similar, and that kind of bundle, like, so, I don't know if everyone's looking at this and it's helpful, but like one of those is increase housing supply for our lowest income residents by incentivizing affordable housing, reducing land, it's like this long one. To me, pausing the land use incentive grant is an example of that. To me, moving to use by right is an example of that. And if, we vote up the bigger picture category, then it gives staff the direction to come back to HCD, for example, and say, here are 4 different methods we could do in the coming year. Which one is most strategic to you? So some of it can be bundled also.
Go
I
ahead.
was under the impression that's what we were doing, and sort of,
What was your impression?
that basically what he was doing here is just trying to narrow the scope down. And you may even have to go, through different sections again, but first thing we need to do is get it narrow so we can get some.
But the question is, do we vote for stuff that we know is already happening?
I'm not quite
No, if it's already happening, I thought he said that we don't.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Quite
I'm just
honestly,
looking behind you at staff to see if
Right.
they're agreeing with that or not. I think we should note, though, something that we are under the impression is already happening, so we don't need to vote for it. Because I don't want to I don't want staff to come back and say, well, nobody voted for that.
Well, for me, I know we're doing community engagement, but I would like to see more of it.
Sure, and
So
there's
then
that
I'm
too.
going to vote for
Yeah,
advanced
okay.
community engagement, even though I know we're doing it.
Well, that needs to be made clear too, because what if the takeaway is, oh, okay, this person supports doing what we're doing? But that's not what you meant. You
What
meant
if we
do more
follow
than
how
what we're
he
doing.
was suggesting, and then when we get to specific answers, we raise those questions specifically? Maybe.
yes,
Well, I
let
need
me-
to know before we vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ease some of the tension
Just the
around the
first
voting.
question.
Yeah, let me ease some of the tension around voting. We could do this whole process without voting. Because the object is not to prioritize this list of statements. The object is to take this list of statements and condense it into a single sentence that gives direction to the city staff. Which means it has to be a very broad motherhood apple pie kind of statement.
Give an example. Do you mean a single sentence for
Yes.
a single sentence for improve and expand core services? You want one sentence is going to be the final product for the
Correct.
entire category.
Correct. And I think it's already
Why
there
would,
quite
I don't know
honestly.
that
Why
we
one
like
sentence?
that, but I mean,
That
do you-
seems so
is that the
broad.
idea?
And it is gonna be broad because there's a lot of things that the city does.
It'll be one really long run-on sentence or
But,
3 short
again,
sentences.
But isn't
Typical
some of the-
council management is set direction and goals, let the staff figure out the operation how-to, and have them come to you and say, look, we want to improve and expand core services by doing this and that and this. Do you agree, and do we have the budget for it? And you say yes or no. But
Aren't
they-
we already there? Didn't we, isn't that what we're saying here?
Please
These
jump in.
ideas? Like, you actually wanted more detail than just, we would like to improve and expand core services so everyone feels clean, safe, and happy. You wanted more of the detail than a statement like that, right? Or not? No?
Yes. So I think what we have is, we have a very high, improve and expand core services. And then we have reparations. So improve and expand core services is an actual sentence,
It's a good
right?
goal statement.
Reparations isn't, right? And so what we're trying to achieve is, what is the goal? What do you want to do under improve and expand core services in a broad goal statement versus a tactical statement of update something or be more proactive in terms of giving specific direction to staff. So like we discussed in the agenda briefing, I think we're asking you all for the what. We will come back to you all with the how. That is, if it's improve and expand core services, if it is, we want to do a study for park index, or whatever. That would be a how.
Like,
We're
don't,
not
like,
asking
don't
you
put that,
all
yeah,
to
you want a
tell me
higher
that.
level than that.
And that's what we want. You all can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But that's what we would want. But if there are some specific things, all that I ask you all to do today, if you don't mind, is if you can give us 2 or 3 broad goal statements. And like, if you really, really want us to tell us, I really want this project or this initiative done, you can do that now. Give me your permission. No,
And
I'm
each
just kidding.
statement needs to have 4 people saying
they want to do it? Is that part of this exercise too?
Yeah, and we need 4 people telling us to do it.
Are we talking
Because
about
that's the
project
action.
now, or are we
If
talking
you-
about, no, we're talking about this.
If you choose.
If you choose a project,
We'd rather you not, we'd rather just.
No, right.
right.
I mean, I think what I've seen happen is we can sometimes get a disconnect between the broad goal statement and then the action
Action.
item. So, for example, it's not, sometimes staff will begin these action items that they believe is fulfilling what the intention was around the goal statement, and there's a mismatch there. That was not where the council was in terms of what they were expecting next. Sometimes there are things staff is doing that do meet the goal statement that we're not even aware of and didn't
That we're
know
doing.
was on the work. Like, for example, planning staff coming forward with the new communications plan is definitely within the goal statement, but you know what, I might not have known it was on their work list. So, anyway,
And
Something.
And Mayor, I totally agree with you, and this is part of our kind of re-engineering and having a better connection with goal statements, priority, organizational work plans, such that we are giving ourselves clear direction that you're saying, here's our goal statement. We're gonna come back to you and say, here are the initiatives under these goal
and
statements.
then there's
Do you
kind of
want-
a.
As Ed said, do
There's
you
kind
all-
of a come together on that.
Yep, do
Yes.
you all want us to add or take away?
Yeah.
Or are there other
And I
things
think-
you want us
I
to?
think
And-
something that I've seen be successful too is between the how do we get this done, that staff has the expertise that we don't necessarily have and what we want them to do. We need to make sure that like in our goal statements, we're using language like prioritize, compare and contrast and decide between strategies. Cause I think sometimes what happens is staff takes the direction and then they figure it all out and we feel like we didn't help with the strategy setting there. And so if in our goal statements, we're saying, we want to work on affordable housing incentives to prioritize which ones have the best service, staff would then know in that goal statement that the prioritization process involves us as part of the team, as opposed to go forth and do all these.
You know, I participated in an American Leadership Forum thing, and I had to go on this wilderness hike. And I was like, oh, I'm not going on a wilderness
I would have
hike.
loved to see that.
And you know what they asked me to do? Trust the process. That's all I'm asking you all to do for us today, is if you can help us with some goal statements, if you will help us and trust us that we will come back to you all with specific initiatives, and then we will continue this journey further, and we will engage council committees to help us create work programs, and then advisory boards to help us do the recommendations. So we will have this cascading effect, but it needs to start with you all and the goal statements, if you all don't mind. We appreciate it.
Okay, and so what are you, I'm hearing you, we're
Yes,
going
ma'am.
on our wilderness hike. But what do you think, Deborah, about the issue of voting for something that appears to already be in action?
I would say you don't have, if you feel in your gut that, hey, they're already doing this, or we are already doing this, you know, I don't think you have to vote for it as a priority. But if you have questions, then say, Deb, this one I'm uncertain about, and we'll come up and try to confirm.
Okay, so I'm about ready here to dive in. The only question I would have in this first category then is to implement the findings of the independent review committee. It seemed like there was already pretty strong consensus around that. So I don't,
And that's
that
separate, yeah.
seems pretty actiony.
Yes.
Okay, so, all right.
And quite honestly, most of the ones, at least in my reading, and I'm outside of Jeff, don't know all the inner workings. So, but looking at the 6 that are written, they are all pretty tactical things that have to get done that staff has to do or things like that. And we're trying to raise it up. So the document I just hand out to you is just sort of an overview of basic strategic planning. Boards or council or senior leadership typically identifies the vision, mission, core values, and the goals and priorities. They then turn it over to the next layer down, or they bring the next layer down in to set the targets and the initiatives that need to happen, critical success factors, barriers, and those things, the strategies that get past those. A lot of these are initiatives or strategies, and what we're trying to do is raise you back up to the goal level. So I'm completely open to how you want to do this. You don't even have to vote. You could also look at all the statements that you have written in here and ask the question, what's the impact, or what have we accomplished in a broad sense if we did all of this? And use that to write a goal statement. And the goal statement could be as broad as improve and expand core services. That one is a goal statement, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom, I gave some, because companies have problems with this all the time, doesn't matter whether it's for-profit, nonprofit, government. You know, what's a goal verb, what's an objective verb, and what's a strategy or initiative verb? And I tried to put some down there to give you some examples that grow, maximize, eliminate, promote, foster. Those are the kind of things that typically go into a goal statement. Whereas establish, development, create, those are things that get done. Those are more tactical. That's usually at the process level. And then things like increase or reduce or achieve, those are measurement, those are specific measurement pieces. Those go with the objectives. Okay? We're back at the goal stage. So giving direction that way. Does that help at all?
Yeah.
Questions?
Yes, I have a question in this category.
Great.
In the B section of sheet 2, I know I participated in this one. Develop a plan to recruit and retain employees to ensure quality, equitable service outcomes. We specifically in our group, subgroups that named APD and Public Works. As I continue to have this concern, I just want to name it. If we don't pay living wages, we will not recruit and retain staff, and we will not be able to provide the outcomes that we want. And we'll be back here next year trying to narrow the scope of the things that we're adding. But when I look at C, it says fill or contract out, and a fill does not mean retain. So I wonder if this had something about developing a plan to recruit and retain employees or contract out instead of fill. I think that I would be closer to getting that as a top priority.
Again, I appreciate the distinction, and you're right. We could have combined these in lots of different ways, but it's not about the word that's in there. It's about when you do that, when you've completed that, which I am sure you will do at some point, or the staff will get done at some point. What has been accomplished? What have we collectively done? So I'm bringing you back up to a higher level. That's too detailed. My thought was the voting might help so that then you could look at the three and ask that question, what's been done, what's been accomplished, and therefore be able to write a goal statement from it. But again, we don't have to use the voting if you don't want to. I see 3 people have voted so far. It was meant to ease you into this process.
You're so cute. Let's just do it.
Yay, we do have some ideas together.
I knew we agreed on stuff.
So we got 2.
There's one person that hasn't voted. Nope, there it goes.
Oh,
Now it's there.
Look at that.
so only 2 move forward? I mean,
No,
Well,
well,
no, I
not
mean, I
necessarily,
think-
still got, yeah.
Good. So 1 and 4, 7. And that sheet I handed you is just so you can keep track of the score, so we can use it later. So if you want to just jot down the votes that each received, you're more than welcome to, you do not have to.
Well, see, I was on there first, but if you go to number 4, so it says the same thing.
Yeah, well, maybe you want to double down.
So,
Yes.
wait, okay.
Because that's just,
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Yes.
so yeah, okay, so we're gonna,
We'll go back to
all of
it.
them.
explain what that means. Does that mean only the 2 that have more than 4
No,
will go
because
forward?
remember, this is all being boiled down to one sentence.
we're gonna.
I mean, I think
It
the
goes
part,
still-
I think the trust part that Deborah was talking about, here, the trust part is, yeah, we'll boil it down to one sentence, but we want you to know what we mean in that sentence. And what we mean in that sentence is this stuff. This is what we mean.
Yep.
But we don't, somehow that can't be lost in terms of what we mean.
And, right, and it
So it
doesn't, just
could-
because advanced community engagement,
Well, I mean, I'm fine with it being kind of,
I say one
a
sentence, but
broad
I
goal.
know you're gonna paint three.
I guess I keep thinking about the county's graphic for their
Strategic
results,
plan.
and it's got, it's
Ideas.
not vague. It's got
Yeah.
a lot of very specific things, so.
So we could go forward when we get to the part of the process of improve and expand core services, could sound something like improve and expand core services. To make sure we review and assess infrastructure needs to prioritize, like, so we could,
But people want to know, are we going to
I
fix the
thought we were gonna-
potholes? They want to
I
know
was-
the plan,
I was under the impression that once we did this, then we'll be able to sort of craft the actual statement. But
Absolutely.
what we're trying to do is just get to
You're
that
right.
point.
You were spot on.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're
Now
just trying to
what?
use this as a
Number
way to get to the next step.
Let's
And then
keep
you
doing
can
it.
work out.
And then you can make, and that's what we want you to do. We want you to craft that statement, and I say a single sentence, but it can be 3 or 4 or 5, but that really clearly tells the staff what direction that you want them to go.
Yeah.
So, and I think for the public watching this, you'd look at this and go, what? They don't know, only one vote for clean and safe environment for residents? And folks need to understand that we're looking at a chart that has duplication, so we know we're getting to this category all by itself later on. And same for community engagement, information sharing, it's also duplicated, so that's why we're consolidating voting on things that aren't duplicated, so
But
just to put that in
Correct.
context.
But the thing is, wouldn't you say that the number 4 actually sort of takes in the clean and safe, because it actually sort of still
Exactly,
gives you the
exactly. You're
same.
bringing it up
yeah,
to a higher
it gives
level.
you the same thing. It's just-
Well, in order to be clean and safe, you're
you-
gonna
you-
need to.
You have people there to
Yeah.
do the functions for cleanliness and public
Yeah.
safety, so.
I was the
Alright.
clean and safe environment for residents. You want me to split it and something, one of the other two?
No,
Or
No,
we're
I
gonna move on
just-
to reparations.
Thank you.
And
We're gonna move
And
on
also,
to
There we
reparations.
go.
one other thing I want to say, and I like you, people were saying something about you had two, you had the 7s, and we're just going to prioritize those. But in other words, even the other ones with a lesser number, they would even look at those to sort of
Absolutely.
see how they
Yeah.
can craft
You're gonna
that
look
in
at
there.
all of these.
So you still don't lose it,
Yeah.
it's just giving direction.
Yeah.
Is that-
Sandra, you're right on. That's
Well,
spot on.
so here in reparations, I feel like 8, 9, and 12 overlap. And so,
So I think just.
And we
pick
thought
some
there was a lot
votes.
of overlap as well. So again, the voting is not the issue. It's how do you take everything that's underneath the reparations category and
Okay.
put it into a goal statement.
well, everybody, if you.
And that's gonna be
8,
the
9,
tough part of
12.
this session, because we're gonna get to that after this. The voting was just hopefully to help. Maybe causing more harm.
Next one.
I like how the little dots fly out.
One more. Last call, you can abstain.
You say you can abstain?
You can abstain.
Cannot.
You know, if you don't want to vote, you don't
You
have
may.
to vote. Again, it's not about the voting, it's about how we craft the sentence. Moving on to reimagining public safety. You guys gotta keep up. Just,
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I mean, I
recorded.
think it should be noted that it's pretty,
A lot of those are pretty similar too.
Yeah.
reimagining public safety.
Well, how do you, okay, just need to, okay, never mind. Oh my God, when I scroll down, this is not touch screen.
Last 30 seconds. Don't forget to click submit. There you go.
See, so we just voted for one that's already underway, but
That's okay.
that's good.
That's okay.
I mean,
It's
whatever.
okay.
We're just, yeah, we're just doubling down.
Yeah, it's just okay.
So, general comment here,
Yes, please.
this next one, continuing funding supportive services for home, CDBG, and home ARP. I mean, these are,
I mean, that's already happening, so you don't need to vote for it.
and it would never not happen.
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
agree.
it's
That
like-
one, I feel like.
It's
don't
like
need
when we
to
get
vote
to
on
the housing one, and we say, you know, people will
Keep breathing
open
air.
these,
Okay,
yeah.
we will keep breathing air.
We'll open these projects that other people are
Yeah, you
doing.
do
Yeah,
not have to vote for them if they're.
Right.
um,
we're
currently
being
done
difficult.
Or almost being finished.
Hey, we got one. Two.
Perfect.
Oh, I had a little plug for partnering with other cities.
Standing alone there.
Equitable and affordable housing and
It's all
stability.
right. It's okay.
Oh, this one is tricky too.
Yeah, this category is totally filled with, duplication and, I mean,
And
Yeah.
typos, so the last one,
and
Oops.
the one that says, complete missing middle study and implement upcoming where needed, it should be upzoning. And it
so it's
just
like that. one-
autocorrects
That
that.
one is already happening, so.
Yeah, I know.
That's what
A
Thank you.
question to my councilwoman, like I'd love to hear what others are thinking about this, because Esther, as you mentioned, the three in the middle seem really similar to me, between the pause the land use incentive grant to
Oh,
move to
yeah.
use by right, review all to me, the action of reviewing all affordability tools and programs for effectiveness and update where needed, that
Covers
is
it.
like a goal statement I love. That seems like it's still focused, but is that saying the same thing as pausing the land use
No,
incentive
and
grant?
33 doesn't make sense. It looks like it got too
No,
mixed up.
I do think review all affordability tools includes pausing land use.
I do too.
It could, yes. However, the second part of that Luigi one is not proper, but there's no reason for
I
those to be
just
together.
ignored that
Like
part. I-
Luigi isn't by right, so
Well, the move to use by right in the second part of that
It's about
is
something
doing,
else. community benefits table.
it's doing, yeah, it's
Yeah.
doing apartments.
Unrelated to
Multifamily
Luigi.
housing.
Mistakenly
Right.
put
And
together.
so what it seems like to me is if, to me, I'm interested in reviewing all affordability tools and programs for effectiveness and updating where needed, which may include
Which we're already
pausing the
doing.
land use incentive grant, moving to use by right, like those type of things. Is
And we're
that,
already doing that.
and we're
but
already
yeah.
doing it. Okay.
But
alright,
keep
thanks
doing
for
it.
Let me
Keep doing it.
think out loud with y'all on that.
We're gonna drive them crazy.
This is just how we need to think together.
That's good.
I
That's
think
good.
they're already completely impressed how quickly we're moving through this. Just reading
Is that
the
enough
reaction.
cookies for
Yeah.
us? Just kidding. Okay.
Yay for housing bond. Yeah. That's good.
Pretty much on the same page.
And some of them, yeah, some of them really stand
Most of
out,
them sort of-
and the rest we're just not sure, yeah.
Increase housing supply.
All right.
So this is the one that I would like to add. So do you want me to scribe up on the white paper, on the
That would be
whiteboard?
great.
Great, okay.
Thank you.
So, the idea behind this, we talked with some folks, is that forever I've heard people talk about wanting to update the UDO at large, and that feels like extremely painful and stressful, and so, an option would be to bring our zoning in line with our comp plan by prioritizing areas in the UDO to update, so, is that friendly? And then
Is that
Like
amending one
specific
of these
to-
categories?
It's probably specific to
It would
chapter
be
7.
easier if that was amending one of these things.
it is not.
Okay. Then what do we vote?
So how should we, do this given reason, can you add another carrier, on the back right now?
I actually can't add one to this because it only takes 12
Yeah.
total.
Well, so let me ask another question about this category. So the first one, create the environmental component of the Environment and Safety Committee work plan by reviewing the municipal climate action plan. The
Maggie
community
must have
100%,
written it, yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It lists all these things.
What'd you
But
mean by
here's my
that?
question. My interpretation of 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51 is that they were all encompassed in 40. If you were to say,
yeah.
hey, committee, go through all the plans, come up with the priorities, wouldn't you grab all those?
Yes.
Those are all actiony things, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking about it like that, like 40 is like the big umbrella.
exactly.
And all that, we're already doing 43, 42 falls under the big one, 40, and 41 is already happening. So, I mean, I feel like all my dots go on 40, plus I like this proposal that Maggie has, so I
And
don't
it
know.
could be more specific, right? You're talking about chapter 7 of the UDO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't really read it, but it
Yeah,
says
can't
bring
see.
our
Yeah.
zoning in line with our comp plan by prioritizing
It's a big
areas in
thing.
the UDO to
It's just,
update.
it's a big statement, but it could just be update chapter 7 of the UDO, is what she's really getting at.
Brad is like
Yeah.
ready to, he's
He's-
getting fired
he's
up.
getting squirmy in
fired-
his
I feel like
chair.
He's getting fired up.
So my question, I can put this one on the Mentimeter. If I collapse, you said 45 and through 50?
Well, it looks like 44 to the end are included in 40 and also 42.
You could take out
So-
43, it's highlighted and done.
Basically, every single thing on this list is included in 40 except 41, which
He just needs
I
one
think
line.
is already happening, and 43, which is happening.
He just needs one line. You want to pull fund urban forestry master plan since we just did
We
it?
already, we don't need to vote for that, that's
Erase,
already.
yeah, erase 43 and put this up maybe.
So, I mean, but I want to make sure everybody's clear that, I mean, that's the way I'm interpreting it. I feel like all those things are kind of,
Yeah, I do.
yeah.
But
I
in
do.
staff's I
Fund
mean,
the urban
staff's mind,
forestry
that's,
master plan
if we
is the
just
best
gave them
way.
that big broad statement, I don't know how they'd get that down to a work plan other than,
Well, it
You know what
says
I
to
mean?
go to the committee to come up with
Okay,
one.
so then-
I mean.
yeah.
And then you could still.
Just to
list
be
those
clear, I'm gonna
line
remove
items
the
up
fund
under
the
the
urban
statement.
forestry
I just
master
wonder if a
plan.
committee will take.
I
some
love what
actions
everyone's
and
saying, but if we
recommendations.
go one at a time, I just value what everyone's saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can,
I don't think we're ready to do anything yet.
okay.
Did you want to add something?
Well, what do you want to finish what you're saying?
I was just saying, since we know that we're funding the urban mastery or forest, whatever plan, to scratch it, pull it from 43 and add this in its place, so you don't have to do too much.
And I just wanted to get clarification for
That's
the rest of the
simple.
board,
The
that I
only
can do
reason I
that.
was
Yeah.
giving pause over that is that we almost didn't have it on our top priority for this budget cycle because we didn't do this earlier. So as long as everyone agrees
Yeah.
that this is in the budget today, so it's getting done.
It's
Yeah.
in the budget.
It's in the budget, yeah,
So,
Cool.
yeah.
just for sake of ease and not having to
Any objections?
do 6 of them.
The other thing that I'm curious about, and we did such a good job naming things explicitly, is we didn't put climate justice in 40, and I want it in there. So as long as climate justice is in the serious
Yeah.
consideration of
And
40.
any other climate-related plan.
I know, but when we say any other, is like, oh
No,
my
no, no,
gosh,
no, I'm not
AIM
saying
is
to
a
say-
climate-related plan.
I'm okay with adding climate justice, I'm saying, and in addition,
Yes.
any other, if we forgot to name something,
Yes.
I would assume it is named there.
My only,
It's a full review,
So we
the
still
committee would be doing a full review of all the plans.
Right, so when we're talking about the Asheville Buncombe Food Policy Council Action Plan, that would fall in here, we just didn't name it, but it's in there.
Yeah,
here's my concern with just adopt like 40 representing so many. Because if we say, all right, now we're gonna give this lofty goal statement to committee, it might be 6 or 9 months till they're back here with ideas. Whereas
would
we have
expect
some
it would
ideas
be.
in front of us, like growing solar for the.
how about we change it to short and long term?
Well, the good
I'm just
news
saying,
is
you know, if
they're
I'm
not
on
losing this list.
But you're not
Yeah.
losing.
This
yeah.
list is not
Yeah.
going anywhere, it's not getting thrown away, it's not getting eliminated.
Right,
They
but-
want to keep your ideas, so.
If we have some, my point is, we have ideas in front of us that we could say, go, as opposed to going to committee to come up with the ideas that come back to us to say, go. You know what I mean? So if we're ready to act on some of these.
Yep,
I would think this is an opportunity for us to weigh some of the things, is what I'm saying, is like,
Both.
here's like a first run. Like, we're already looking at facilities assessment, and while we're doing it, we want resilience hubs.
Yeah. We're not trying to make this confusing for you.
So,
But like you said.
yeah, so I think what
first-
I'm hearing is we still get 3
We pulled
Choices.
40.
choices right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
We're gonna take off one so we can add
Already
the one
done.
on the whiteboard,
It's already.
and then
It's
we'll
up there.
see from
We
there.
get rid
So
of 40.
yours has its own space, is basically.
Now,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now.
so we can get
And
rid
then
of
40 is staying the way it,
44 on down, and they can still list them.
And if you're,
Yeah.
yeah,
You can still list
but
them.
with the noted amendment
Yeah.
that climate justice and other ones are
Yeah.
there
Wait,
for
so where did
conversation.
you, I'm sorry,
But I
where did
thought-
you
Yeah, that's what I'm
remove
trying to find.
fund urban
Number
forestry? and
20.
Right here.
You probably have to
Just the
refresh your
last one.
screen.
Oh, it's the last thing, okay.
bring on chapter 7.
Has a funny
The
screen
comment,
showing,
I didn't
but
take the
we'll
whole
go
thing.
for it.
because
It didn't go in order, it just went into the end.
Yeah, it just went to the
I
very
see.
bottom.
Okay.
I've never met a computer that loved to spell zoning.
okay, so like the first one, is that
So
all
41 and
encompassing
42.
now, it's just the way it was? Or is it?
it's all encompassing. But
But
it would have been a great opportunity
Yeah.
for us to be like, hey, go do that solid waste plan.
I'm with you.
Well, why can't it?
We can, I just don't know that we'll have enough votes, but yeah.
We should do a talking stick.
Although I have thoughts about this electric vehicle charging, but we will be able to share them when the committee comes back with its priorities.
Yeah,
I don't think we should be doing this.
So we're supposed to refresh our Menti?
It's,
Should be at the bottom.
it
Should be the
automatically
very last
added
one.
it.
Oh, the very last, I see.
Yeah, I refreshed it here, so it should show up everywhere.
So we can change things right here in the back end right now.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but he
He had
had
to
to take
remove one.
something out, he replaced something, he didn't change the numbers.
I know, I have the same.
doesn't-
I got an outlook.
Look at, we're the old people around here.
So have we decided to implement the plastic reduction? The
I have
plastic ban?
no idea. I mean, kind of, parts of it, right? We did the leaf bags. But hey, look at that, chapter 7, zoning, good job, thank you. If this is a public-facing document, we might want to change that to the actual word zoning, but
Where?
it says bring our chapter 7 ZOIMG,
That was my
Zoem.
quick typing.
It's okay.
Sage, I want you to review everything I write. I
Zoning,
I
every
never
computer
see
hates
stuff like
typing that
that
word for
when I
some
just
reason.
register it.
So I'm sorry I couldn't make the work session, or the agenda briefing. At some point, is a work plan being brought to us okay, so we'll see these again, yeah, okay.
And we got 7. Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Can you go back one? Sorry, I
Yep.
didn't catch them all. I know.
While we're at it, after that, can you go back to the reimagining public safety one?
I got that, thank you.
Good. And you wanted to go back to,
The public safety one.
which was it?
More.
One
That's all
more.
it says.
That one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a little.
Thank you.
All good? That was the fun part.
Oh.
Yeah. Now we get to go into even more fun part. It's the creative part.
Is this gonna instantly synthesize all of that? No.
No, you guys
ChatGPT.
are.
Yeah, it's ChatGPT.
This is where you actually, really earn the big bucks. We're gonna move into goal statements. Again, a goal statement is a broad area of endeavor that must be addressed if the organization is gonna make progress toward its vision and mission. They should be short. We don't want 6 paragraphs. 3 or 4 sentences is probably tops. If you can get it down to 1, even better. We also want to start with goal verbs so that they know what they're doing. So if it's promote or foster or maximize, those kind of verbs, and not objective verbs or strategies. So here's some examples of goal statements. Promote safe and resilient neighborhoods, diversify income streams, reduce expenses, foster equitable and affordable housing, improve and expand core services. These are broad statements. Now, you can add nuances to that. That's what I heard from Deborah earlier, and I think what Esther was trying to point to, or Mayor Manheim was trying to point to, is that we also want to give a little more direction than just this big, broad statement. So that's where the second and third sentence comes in. But that's the work that we're setting up to do. What we're going to do is break it into small groups. So 2 pairs and 1 group of 3. We'll assign a priority area to each group. Review all the statements. Go back and look at everything that you did in March and all of those statements to Vice Mayor Kilgore's point. We're not losing any of this. So look back at it and use that as a way to leverage or write the goal statement. The reason for the prioritization was to help get to, okay, well, these big ones probably are leaning more toward what we're hoping. The other way to ask it is, and we're gonna have you write it on a flip chart. Okay, so we're gonna give you a flip chart, maybe you can stay up there. I think, if 3 of you wanna go back into 209 to write it out, that's fine. Somebody wants to move to the table over here.
Yeah, my question is, how do we, if we didn't take pictures of it, how do we,
You're,
know that
Jamie, are
was-
you gonna,
Yeah, we have the sheets with the numbers tallied and we can share.
oh, you do? Okay.
You can blow that up, so it's not 11.
so you've got, this got 4 votes, this got 3 votes. So you're able to print that for each of us? I might be able to see it if it's just.
And I have it written for my team, and not to overlook, I know Kim's been jotting it too, so some of us might have it for our small groups.
I'll try and go in and do
Or,
it
I mean,
quickly, and I
if
can
you-
put it up here for the 3 that we're working on.
Okay, I mean, I can copy it if we go back. I can copy them on the sheet we have.
Yeah, do
We've
you,
got it, she'll get it for you.
She'll get it.
well, could, maybe just go, can you,
Okay.
while we're waiting, can we go to improve and expand core services? Okay, so it was.
I find it pretty exciting that in some of these categories, there's really clear gelling of a lot of us. and not all of them were like that.
Mhm.
But at least some of them are. I think that really is a good thing for our community and shows a lot of progress that y'all have been doing before I even got onto this council.
Okay, so I can just write them.
Um,
Yeah, I can write them down. We can just go to.
Everybody got it?
Yeah, go to the next one, yeah. Okay.
Next.
Oh, good. All good? Okay.
I'm thinking about workspaces. The 209 and the law library has a table.
Oh, great.
Just because I think it'll be hard if two groups are in here, just for the sound.
As long as they're not too far that I can.
Are you doing 3 groups?
Yeah, we're gonna do 3 groups. We're gonna do it the old-fashioned count-off way. Councilwoman Mosley, I'm gonna start with you, we're gonna count just to 2. You start with?
1, 2, 3, 1.
Oh, 1, okay. Sorry.
Wait, oh, we're doing.
We're all counting to 2.
Okay, 1, 2,
Yeah.
1, 2,
1,
1,
2.
2, 1, 2,
1, 2.
1, 2.
You too.
You
I'm
too.
one.
Thank you.
Two. One.
Great. So the ones will all take improve and expand core services. The ones, all the ones.
Oh, I thought
Okay,
you were
hold
saying
on.
we were 3
Wait,
groups.
We
wait.
are.
The ones are gonna take, okay.
No, it's 2
No,
groups.
sorry, you're
Just
right. I
made 2
messed that
groups.
up.
That's
Wait,
okay.
Yeah.
So we should, wait a
Do
minute.
it
Okay,
again.
1,
do
2,
it.
3, 1, 2, 3.
3, 1.
I might need coffee
Thank you.
and candy.
One
or
and-
something.
So do you want to start at
I'm
1?
still
No, you're good. Yeah. Vice Mayor, you are 3, you were correct. You did it
Yeah,
right. I was
okay.
messed up.
Sanders always right. That's the bottom line of the story.
Yeah, you were absolutely correct. You're a 3. You're a 3. Mayor, you're a 1, 2, and a 1. Okay, so the ones have improve and expand core services. The 2s have reparation, and the 3s have reimagining public safety. 3s, where do you want to meet?
Okay, wait.
2's have reparations.
Do you not want to just hand out all the assignments?
Nope, we're gonna do these 3, come back, talk, and then
Oh, okay.
We could,
you want to do it all?
I mean, I'm just saying in terms of time.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Might as well just give, so 1 is improve and expand core services, 2 is reparations,
3 is
3 is reimagining public
Safety.
safety. Then 1.
homelessness is 1
homelessness.
again. equitable and affordable is 2, neighborhood and climate is 3. So you're actually gonna come back with 2 goal statements,
Okay.
because you're working on 2 different priority areas.
And then after we do that, what happens?
You're gonna present it to the rest of the council and hope they agree with you.
Okay.
We'll work toward consensus on that.
And so we'll workshop anything that comes back.
We'll do a little
Okay.
tweaking, changing if we need to. Love it and move on,
Cool.
okay? Again, remember you're staying at the high level. So group 1,
Can I add a friendly amendment to this strategic planning guide? I think the word prioritize is a very helpful one, given the tenor of what we've been talking about, that we keep adding to the lists, and staff is doing an awesome job, but struggling sometimes because we keep adding. So in our verbs for goal statement, I think prioritize is a very powerful one.
To this
Yes.
sheet you're talking about,
Adding the word prioritize to the goal verbs for us to be, if we're using this as a reference.
well, it depends on how, okay, not to, prioritize just could mean promote, or do you actually mean, and the following list shall be prioritized?
I mean, prioritize, I
Like-
mean, saying
Prioritize, okay.
what the feedback we keep hearing.
Aren't
Sure.
they all
Is it-
prioritized?
I mean,
That's
I-
why
yeah.
we said the thing.
That's what we just
This was not
did
meant
with
to be
these.
a list that is exclusive. This was just a sample. So use the right, use
Yeah,
a
do
verb
it.
that works
You do
well. You're crafting a sentence that gives staff direction in a very broad way around what you want accomplished in this goal area. Again, it's a broad area of endeavor that must be addressed if the organization's gonna make progress towards its vision and mission. So, time-wise,
Yeah.
you're gonna do 2 at once. So let's give you 20 minutes. That's 10 minutes for each one you're working on. My suggestion, do it any way you like, my suggestion is look back at all of the statements you created in March, look at the ones that you just prioritized, and ask yourself, if we did all that, what have we accomplished? What's the impact that it's had in our community? And that impact may be part of that goal statement. Does that make sense? All right, so ones, you're gonna go to 209? Is that correct?
Sure. Maggie B, can you unlock my computer so I can take it with me? Or can you teach us how to do it?
No, teach us how to do it.
Uh-oh.
Twos,
Wait, where did you put ones?
ones are going
In
to
the-
209. Twos,
Actually,
Two's up to you, but
I
there's
have
the
my
law
laptop, but I think
library,
Kim might need hers too.
and then,
Yeah,
or we could use
See the
the
back.
mayor's
Okay.
office,
So
around,
Three?
or just slap Jamie's office.
Yeah, go back. Okay.
Oh yeah, so ones are going to your office?
No, you're going 209.
oh, well, actually,
209 is one.
yeah, you wanna just pile it on the table here too, so one in there.
Are you saying that there's also snacks?
That sounds good.
Okay,
Oh,
I misinterpreted that
Yes.
message.
We'll see you in 20 minutes.
Can we pivot, since I need this computer, or y'all using your computers in here?
I'm bringing a laptop.
I need this laptop, but or Maggie bring it this time.
What is that?
We lost one, I just wanna make sure we can wait for it if we need to. Great work, thank you, I appreciate it. What we wanna do now is actually have the groups share what they created, so that we can get a consensus from the rest of council, or most of the rest of council. These are the goal statements we wanna go forward with.
Are we back live?
We are back live. So we'll start with the first one, was improve and expand core services, it's up here.
So that's group one, which was Antoinette and myself and Maggie. And we tried to capture there were 2 that actually got 7 votes each. The one that talked about, long-term infrastructure planning, including a bond package. And then there was one that was about what we categorize as more short-term, lighting, garage maintenance, those kinds of potholes, those kinds of things. And then there was one regarding staffing, and so we kind of just took that first one, hiring and retaining excellent staff. So we captured the hiring and also the retaining piece of it.
Good, so the goal statement reads, improve and expand core services by hiring and retaining excellent staff, improving public-facing amenities, and creating an ambitious funding plan for infrastructure investment. Everybody okay with that? Anybody up here that's gonna object or wants to change or see a tweak in there?
And again, just to, this category had the piece about the IRC recommendations that we assumed are already on a go, and it had,
IRC really fits in all three of those, right? Everything we heard in that report touches on different categories there.
well, just in case anyone's worried about making sure that.
I have like a level setting question, I think. Equity's at the front of all we do, right? Because I didn't see it in anything, and we're not setting it as a separate goal really, but we're talking about equity with all of these, right?
Yeah, and we've had that discussion before about whether you pull it out and mention specifically, but our city managers made it very clear that that is that's the value
it's a guiding
that
principle.
all of these are
It's
implemented.
underneath.
Just want to
In
check.
front of, I'm gonna share this microphone.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe once this gets finalized, a sentence in front of all of these.
Well, we have
is
a
looking at it.
vision, we have
Oh,
a
yeah,
vision
it's in our
that
vision.
includes
Yeah.
that.
I just wanted to make sure, because we're getting ready to get into all these, and I wanted to just make sure that I was operating from the same place.
Good, thank you,
Yeah, good question.
thank you. So, we're comfortable with this, right? Do I need to take a vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job, we have a goal here, yeah.
That one was probably
The easiest
I will
one.
offer.
That's
That one was
great.
the easier
Next
one.
one's good too. You ready?
Second area was reparations.
We want to grow reparations investments by increasing funding and continuing to look for more revenue sources and partners. We want to maximize collaboration with the CRC Community Reparations Commission and partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations from the commission, from the impact focus areas, and from the Stop the Harm audit.
So, the only thing about, I support this one, I think I would have flipped it on its head and started with supporting the implementation of the CRC recommendations and then gone from there. I will say, as we were preparing to learn about a reparations process, I had the opportunity to meet with this professor at Northeastern who specializes in this, and she very much recommended that you get a recommendation from your CRC and there is money allocated to it and it is a finite process. So, but I think the way we've been thinking about it and contemplating it is that it's a forever ongoing financial process, not just implementation, but financial process. So I just leave that out there. I don't know what the CRC will recommend, but, and it probably doesn't change the need to identify
We did it
additional
because
resources.
of the voting, so the most supported item was the increased funding. So we kind of prioritized it by the way the group had voted.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that funding has to be increased. I'm only saying, is this a perpetual budgetary item for the city in infinity? Or is it like a process that has an amount set for some certain implementation of some kind of program? And, anyway, that's why I just said I would prioritize implementing the recommendations of the CRC, the commission.
They're both in here.
Yep,
Well, I
yeah,
have a
so it's probably
question.
fine.
There's a question.
This one was hard.
If we do what you said and flip it, because increasing funding with a compounding percentage, which my colleague Mosley had mentioned is the goal, right? It was like, isn't that underneath? So should we flip it and put, we're supporting the CRC, and one of the ways is increasing funding with a compounding percentage? That got 5 of our support, is the highest.
Yeah, well,
It's
it's on there, so we want to
yeah.
grow reparations investments by increasing funding and continue to look for more revenue sources and partners. but it doesn't define if it's in perpetuity or not, and
Yeah, no, and I don't expect
Yeah.
that this would, but this,
Yeah.
that would be probably too granular. And I am assuming that the CRC will have a recommendation, that tells us more about how
That's
that
what I
approach
was
is
gonna
taken.
And this is, this is from what we know. We know we have the impact focus areas, we know we have the stop the harm audit. We know we have input coming from them, short and long term. And, I think one of the things that stood out to me at our first retreat meeting was that we were all kind of in unison saying, well, we want to hear their input before we define this. So,
How satisfied are you, Ed, that we've phrased this as a goal statement?
I'm pretty satisfied. We can wordsmith these for a long time, and that's totally up to you. We only have about 40 minutes left in this work session. I look at them real quickly and go, yeah, you could rewrite this to maximize collaboration with the CRC partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations and grow reparations investments by increasing funding and looking for more sources.
and that would work. I think we'd have been okay with
It's short,
that.
sweet, and somewhat to the point.
Yeah,
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I think we'd be fine with that.
The only thing I'll just point out is the one that had the highest weight in this category by what our process was number 5, which included the compounding percentage.
Which, so we talked about,
When I voted for that one, I was for
we,
increasing.
we just,
We had a conversation about that, and it's just kind of expected, because it's already in the budget, and it was already agreed on by the council, so it's a part of increasing the
We had
funding.
too many
but not
And, I was trying to,
some of it.
I didn't want the prioritization to actually get in the way of, right, that has to be the Stettins. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily the case.
and we had that in there.
It's just guiding the direction for the broader statement. And if it's included in looking for increasing funding, and it's in the budget, then it might be covered. If it's not, then maybe we do need to add it.
I would,
It originally said increasing funding, comma, including a compounding something, but we took it out because it was getting really long, but.
Yeah, and what we want are broader statements here
Well,
to
if
give
it's already
direction.
in the-
And it's already in the budget, right?
is it also kind of understood that it was one of the recommendations of the CRC, so therefore it's included?
That's what I heard, that it is, if you're gonna maximize collaboration with the CRC,
That it was their recommendation to begin with. Yeah.
right, then,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So, do you want me to change it?
So I guess what y'all are saying is
Well,
flipping it like Ed
Just
said.
flip it to,
Yeah, we want to maximize collaboration with the CRC and partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations from the commission, from the impact focus areas, from the stop the harm audit. And, but someone else word it, because I'm not gonna do it, because you're now saying scratch all that.
CRC partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations. We don't need from the commission.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We know all that's there, so.
Increasing
to
funding.
include,
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
So
To grow.
maximize collaboration with the CRC partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations.
And to
Including-
grow.
And grow.
And
Yes.
grow
Yeah.
reparations
Yeah.
investment by increasing funding. And continue to look for more revenue sources and partners.
And if we say including, it really does shine as it was their recommendation.
Yeah.
Including to
You want
grow
this
the
to be
investment.
in the included?
No.
Just, it's fine. I'll stop.
Are we okay?
Yep.
Good. Yes. Maximize collaboration with the CRC partners to effectively implement short and long-term recommendations and grow reparation investments by increasing funding and continue to look for more revenue sources and partners. Thank you.
That's powerful.
That is really powerful.
Well done. Round of applause, well done, good. Reparations, after reparations, we have reimagining public safety.
On the ground.
Okay. I'm just gonna move these over here.
Yes, that's helpful for the camera. It stays messed up. That's nice.
Sandra, do you want me to read this one?
I can't see them. It's so light, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote 2 here.
Because she got one.
Number 1, well, you want to start there?
Yep. Well, wherever you want to start, sure.
That's how I can switch my screen.
So what category
We're
are we
starting
on?
there.
Oh,
We're starting
reimagining?
Reimagining, the page that you have it on right now,
Okay.
reimagining number 1. Improve safety by securing funding and increasing, expanding city programming to interrupt patterns of violence, particularly with youth, young adults, and intimate partners with targeted response, especially with and for high-crime neighborhoods.
Sounds good. Bravo.
So that captured that, yeah, that captures the,
I wanna live there.
That was really good.
yeah.
Well
you-
done.
And you, so you guys hit on that,
Oh, sorry, yes, we were looking at, there was like a three-way tie of number fours with
Yeah.
pursuing and funding increased
Okay.
programming, the piloted community responder programming, and improved safety and community building in high-crime neighborhoods. So what we did was look at the rest of them and then funnel it into two. So on the next page, you see the second one. The number one is what we do internally, and the number two is on our partnerships.
Because
Can
the
we see the
community
second one too?
response
So I understand
basically
your
would be
context.
Ed, I think it's on the, oh,
partner.
The second one is to secure,
oh, you want to put them together.
Because this is two goal statements for the one.
two goals for one, yeah. One is, once again, one of them is internally what we do, and the second one is how we collaborate and partner. Number two is secure funding and increase, expand partnerships to continue and grow the community responder program, collaborating with the county to address quality of life issues, mental and behavioral health, illicit substance use and overdose, and intimate partner violence. Mostly because those are usually functions of a county, and so we have those needs in our city, and we would suggest that we can collaborate and go farther. Does that
The-
reflect what you were thinking,
The
Sandra?
only thing I'm wondering, is that imply that we're gonna fund the county's community paramedic program?
I think that the securing funding and expanding partnerships could go a lot of different ways. I think there's also the Spark Foundation has a new community responder.
I'm just, was
program.
that on this? I did not see that on this. I see pilot a community responder program, comma, collaborating with the county to address quality of life issues.
Yeah.
I just worry a little bit that this is saying, am I just misreading it? Yeah.
I'm still trying
We
to process
I thought we mostly copied the number three, which had
it. It is.
the four. We mostly were, I think we were trying to take where we had blurred in our previous notes, the things we do together and inside of our organization, and divide them. But that's why by pulling out what our collaboration and partnerships look like, it could be with Spark Foundation, it could be with Dogwood Health, it could be with neighborhoods, it could be neighborhood plans, it could be with the county's existing program, our new pilot program. It's all the ways that we partner outside. It could be strategic partnership funds, Helpmate, Our Voice. I'm just trying, I'm like literally brainstorming all the things we already do that are in our existing work plans.
So is there a way to take these two and make it a higher level? They're both talking about increasing funding.
Yes.
and
Sandra, what do you
and
think
expanding
about
programming.
improving safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing, expanding programming and partnerships?
There you go. Just add that.
There you go.
At the end, yeah, just add that at the end.
It's the first one, just saying safety outcomes.
Yes.
It adds outcomes to the end of improved safety. And add partnerships after programming.
Is there, I just asked if they could type up what you're saying, Kim, up so we can read it on the screen. Is there a way to just get
And
the
then
screen?
can you
to-
add outcomes after improved safety?
Say outcomes.
Yes. And then the rest of it is the how you, like, the bazillion ways that we do it, but we have to do it through both internal programming and partnership.
Well, the only thing, I'd love to just, I'm kind of a little bit lost. I just want to see what we got. Are we doing two condensed statements or one?
We're getting it down to one statement.
Okay,
What I
okay.
think I hear you saying, and I'm just trying to understand the process, is like, we all want to improve safety, so that's part of things. And we want to put more money to it, and we want to like.
Partner and collaborate.
To even go further,
Well,
like that's some of the
Sandra,
essence.
yes, it's all, I worked on this with Sandra, so as long as it's reflecting both of our,
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Partnerships, money.
Yes. safety. And then you can put, yeah.
So can you say that one again that you said a second ago?
Improve safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing, expanding programming and partnerships. 2,
Wait just a second.
Ensure securing funding and.
Safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing and expanding programming and partnerships.
2, and then the other 2 would be bullet points underneath it. Or you could leave the word 2 out, it's just, those are the, I guess, actionable items underneath.
So improve safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing.
That's the both of them together. What do you think, Sandra?
Wait, what are you doing?
Sorry.
Improve safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing and expanding programming and partnerships.
Maggie, Jamie's typing it up on the screen.
Well, that's, there's, you maybe still needs to improve safety.
To me, that's a great goal statement.
What do you
Okay.
think, Sandra? Does that match what we talked about?
Uh-huh, okay.
That sounds pretty awesome. Works for me.
You could throw in the word to address quality of life issues if you want.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Improve safety outcomes by securing funding and increasing and expanding programming and partnerships to address quality of life issues.
And then, but he put behind that, especially in our youth.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do the
give
youth
them
thing?
details on that.
You wouldn't? Okay.
Initiatives that are going to
Okay.
run behind it.
Yeah, I think we got into the initiatives because we were looking at the very long list. But they're up there. This is
Okay.
just the together
Okay.
condensed.
Is there, in several of these, we talk about like basically target audiences and there's some overlap. Is there value in us adding some of the target audiences? Because we know that there's such a resource scarcity.
You want to say like youth, high crime?
Well, see,
I'm curious.
That's what I would prefer to put that in there, because I think that would.
Because
sort of
high crime
send-
neighborhoods,
Yeah, it'll send, a clear message to community that we're looking at these things. If you don't put them in there, it just looks like
Yeah.
you're just sort of whitewashing it over.
it's like in the improved core services, we talk like there's so many of our services are
Yeah.
core, but we really shine the light on a couple of them.
Yeah,
But
and the thing is, in most of those questions, the ones that the highest, they were really talking about high
The
crime
audience.
neighborhoods and that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's what we really need to cut, because by focusing on those, we automatically improve public safety.
for
Because those,
everybody.
those 3 issues are what's actually driving where we are, so I.
To honor the process with this statement, could that go into the work plan for the Environment and Safety Committee where y'all get
Yeah.
into the target audience?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a really good idea.
Improve safety
Yeah, I mean, I think,
outcomes.
because when we talk
by
about
securing
reimagining public
funding.
safety, I hear what our conversation is focusing on today. But it has historically also included things around, yeah, a lot, how to interact with folks who are experiencing a mental health crisis, or someone who's, having a drug, an experience related to drug, you just, and how we respond to these things. So it could, but it also needs to be, what these other items that we're talking about in terms of neighborhood safety and
Yeah.
youth.
I like Kim's suggestion that in the work group, in the committee, we can talk about audiences and say, hey, we want to have an audience conversation.
Now, I will say, just to be honest, of all the things on this whole page, for me, coming in today, community responder needs to move from pilot to program. And it needs to be partnered, because there are a lot of things that we don't do, we don't have the skills, and I'm really concerned about sending our staff with an app when what they need is mental and behavioral health training and equity training. And I don't know how we get there.
The fire program?
The pilot we're doing, much appreciated, but they're not gonna be able to do these things. So I just wanna see us move from the pilot
Our second pilot.
towards a
Underway.
program.
Yeah.
Deborah's giving
And
us
I'm glad it's
some-
underway, I just want y'all to know.
I like the
that's my
wording.
number.
Wait, but Kim, I'm just so I understand what you're saying. You're saying the pilot involving fire department's great, but they're not gonna be able to do all these things. So turning that pilot into a program is not gonna do all of these things. What are you saying in terms of doing all of these things? Does this,
I'm
maybe
saying
I'm just
that
confused with it.
this
Never seems
goal-
clear.
Right.
So,
When we say, if I could, just real quick, Ed, when we say we're gonna do this goal, I am trusting the process that we're narrowing the goal, but my number one thing is that community responder programming, having the right tools and training for these issues. So when y'all get into the target,
Okay,
I look
that
forward to
makes
that being the work plan,
Yeah.
and I look forward to turning this pilot into a program.
So I think what you're saying is you want to see that the program is developed in such a way that it comprehensively is able to deal with all of these issues and meet this goal.
Or
Whether
if we
that's
don't
through-
have it,
And if we don't,
partner.
if it turns out this pilot does not meet this goal, we got to figure out another
We
one.
have to.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I wasn't totally clear on what you were saying there.
is council in agreement that this is the goal statement for reimagining public safety?
Yeah, and I think Kim has shared with us what, in her mind, it meets this goal. And I think we're also hearing from some other folks about these other things on the chart,
There's gonna be lots of
are
stuff.
gonna be really important too. And what it means to them to meet this goal. So I don't think staff's losing sight of that. Are we saying operationally for this one, we wanna see this kind of fleshed out in committee, is what you're?
I am,
Yeah.
yeah, especially if we're gonna leave out all the target
leave out
audiences,
things that
youth
we-
and young adults.
Yeah, we're trying to put in, for sure, because I feel like those are important.
Okay, I'm gonna move on, if we're okay with this one.
Good job, y'all, that was a
All right.
good one. Thanks so much.
Next is.
Antoinette, you wanna do?
No.
No. All right,
I'll do this one, mister.
okay, do it.
We did. It
Oh,
was
how
Antoinette,
simple and nice.
uh,
And rare and brief.
Esther, and me, yeah. Make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring, which is language from the NAE report that felt really powerful. So make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring by supporting implementation of the NAEH recommendations. Now, we acknowledge it's not, like, the recommendations aren't spelled out, but there's so much good work that was just there, and it, when we went through the list that had us coalescing in high numbers, those items were some of the top recommendations, so we thought this was a brief way to do it.
Questions, comments?
Who could disagree with that?
Well,
No need to.
Don't ask. In this community, don't ask.
Is council accepting this as the goal statement? All right, well done, great job. Moving on.
Those are my papers.
Housing. Housing is, it's actually got a much larger name. It is equitable and affordable housing and stability. And it is, we want to maximize efforts and tools to increase housing supply, prioritize access for low-income households, reduce barriers to construction, and prepare for a 2024 housing bond.
Yes.
Drop the bike.
I wish I could drive it.
Glitter bomb.
Any questions or comments?
Yay.
Suggestions or tweaks?
We could just
Council
agree
good with
with
this
that.
one?
we're good with it. No one can disagree. We're good.
All right. See, it's the adjacency, I'm getting lawyerly.
Which was group 3.
Okay, once again, we have two, but we might be able to find a way to merge. The first one is create the, well, let me start, rewind. We agreed that we were talking about 40 and the new one, right? And honoring that some folks got in the weeds a little bit by bubbling things up to the top. So, number one is create the environmental component of the environment and safety work plan by reviewing the municipal climate action plan, climate justice initiative, the community 100% renewable energy policy, carbon reduction plan, food policy action plan, community 50% waste reduction policies, and others, while prioritizing resources and capacity. And then the second one bringing our zoning in line with our comp plan by prioritizing areas in the UDO to update.
Because we couldn't really put Maggie's in that,
Yeah,
it didn't fit in that.
yeah,
category.
that makes sense. It's kind of a different thing. They look good.
That was the last.
Great job. I like them.
Council, questions, comments? Concerns?
I think it's excellent.
We're all appreciating you too.
I will say that one of the things that comes to mind is that the Reparations Commission has been having a long conversation, just like they did last night, included parts of focusing on the fact that we're talking about a new process when neighborhoods who have been harmed through zoning practices, for example, have already established neighborhood plans. So when I see that utilizing the facilities assessment to identify resilience hubs, we could really be talking about neighborhood resiliency with the existing community centers by using the neighborhood plans. So I think that probably fits in the scope of a lot of them, but neighborhood plans could be added to our long list of what's already identified as climate plans or resiliency plans. We could just add neighborhood plans in there. But I think that it's also probably packaged in the Climate Justice Initiative.
So we're fine with like that, right, Kim?
I'm looking at,
Create the environmental component of the Environment and Safety Committee work plan by reviewing the municipal climate action plan, the community 100% renewable energy policy, food security plan, the community 50% waste reduction, oh, I just went off screen, policies and others while prioritizing
resources and capacity.
resources and capacity, of course.
So
Okay, so then let's,
that's actually the
That's-
statement.
that's
that you
basically
are-
the
statement
one
that you
that-
had, that we, yeah.
And then that would go to Environment and Safety Committee to get into the weeds of where that resource prioritization happens. And since we already have some of these bubbled up, it could be resilience hubs, growing solar,
Totally.
All that falls
plastic
under
reduction, et
that,
cetera.
Yeah.
Right?
All that, yeah, falls under there. Even the neighborhood, that all falls under there. Because it's still,
right,
you
and
can't really, yeah.
what's number 2? It's really.
Oh, no, that was the Maggie's about the UDO.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that, okay, you just
We
added
just
it.
broke it out as a second,
Because it
separate
couldn't fit
thing.
really.
And then you were, the resilience hub aspect, and like that could, getting towards resilience hubs could come out of some of the small area plans, which could come into both of these conversations at different points. I agree. And the resilience hub one, I know we're not prioritizing projects, but I'm pretty excited about that at project level, but we'll evaluate it against a bunch of other stuff as we step back. This looks great.
Everybody okay with it? We'll take it as is.
This is exactly how, what you're approving right here, right?
If,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the only way to condense this more would be to say something like, review all the environmental
Yeah,
related plans.
to like take out
you
the
know,
list.
But if, it doesn't really, I mean, either way is fine.
You can create the environmental component of the environmental safety committee work plan, it's not here. And while prioritizing resources and capacity. And bring our zoning in line with.
Oh, that's true.
By prioritizing areas in the UD, I guess.
We could, but doesn't this community love that we make a bunch of plans and then shelve them? I would love to name them.
Yeah, I'm with you at this point. I think we should just keep it up there. And then if we've overlooked some, staff will bring them into the analysis that we go through.
I mean, that's what you can list all the plans, but if you're gonna package in a marketing document, you probably don't have to say all that.
It is, I mean, I'm not gonna get hung up on it, but it's diverging quite a bit from the way we're doing the others.
But yeah, that's true too. I agree.
But it's, if it's important, I mean,
Well, the thing is, then you're going back to the same thing.
this ain't a hell I
Public
wanna
safety.
know.
Because we still, we had to condense down public safety for the ones that we wanted to put in there so that people would see it, right? So
Good
basically,
point, Sandra.
yeah,
Good
so
point.
basically we're just, condensing it the same way we did that.
So,
And in the work group, like you said, you want to work on those different issues, but.
yeah,
I think
so,
that's a good point.
so I think, what I just think is So I think
I like what he
the
said.
real essence of the goal
Just reveal the
is to
plans.
prioritize resources and
That's
capacity
exactly right,
around
that top part.
a list of really ambitious things.
Yeah.
Is that right? And so if we wanna do that, to follow, as you're lifting up, Sandra, the methods we've used, that's the part that gets lifted. Okay, I think you just said that, I just needed to.
Actually, that's what he said.
Yeah, so the way,
I would say that that's the goal.
that's the goal right there,
Is
capacity,
that
yeah.
the goal?
Uh-huh,
Everybody's nodding?
yes,
I'm looking for a couple more nods.
yes.
I would start with it. Start with prioritizing resources and capacities to create
create.
an environmental component of the environmental safety committee work plan.
Nice.
So leave all the guys off.
Uh-huh,
Get done,
And bring our
right,
zoning in line with our contract.
there you go.
you're
I like
gonna
that.
make Maggie's head
Short, sweet,
first.
to the point, and
I
it's
mean-
to the goal, you're burying the lead.
I-
And this is basically.
I'm gonna take it one more step, because we aren't creating the environmental component of the environmental safety committee. That's actually not the outcome, that's the process that we're
Jeannie,
naming.
can
And I
you write
get
it
why we
on
did
the-
that, but what we really wanna do is prioritize resources and capacity for our climate and sustainability programs. And then where it gets done and what committee isn't the point, right? We aren't naming all the committees for
Yeah,
the
that's
other one.
So we're not naming.
So,
Can I tell you a little bit about how I landed at writing it this way? I remember when we did the climate justice initiative and the number of neighbors that said, you have asked us for so much input, we've repeated the answers over and over and over and over again. We put our last bit of energy into this, and you better fund it. And it wasn't even in our list, was the climate justice initiative, so I was like, we better make sure that's in there, because it fits with the community outreach and engagement and building trust. So I just hope that when it goes to getting into the weeds on it, that it's a really serious priority
Yeah, it is to me.
and named in our work plan.
so I'm gonna ask Jamie to rewrite it, if we could, by really bringing the goal forward and making it first.
Yeah, I don't think these council members were on council when we did that adoption. So I think it is fair to say, I'm not saying it's not a priority, I'm just saying it's fair to say the committee reviews all the plans. I mean, what we also hear from staff is we can't do all these things, and then you come up with these one-offs like reduce single-use plastics, and we don't, it's not fit into any context about an overall priority list. And so we need a way to synthesize all of these plans and figure out what the to-do list looks like.
I also heard staff say pretty clearly that one of the reasons there was like, we don't have capacity for the plastic reduction is because you told us that the climate justice initiative was important.
Right. So what if it's
Right, which is-
prioritize resources and capacity across our climate and sustainability efforts, such as the Climate Justice Initiative and Municipal Climate Action Plan, so it lifts it, knowing that we're gonna have a
Across
long list
climate.
later. Does that get to a compromise?
What'd you say, Shanika, across?
Across climate and sustainability
Efforts?
efforts, yeah.
You gave up typing it on the screen?
Yes.
Does that help to have it? Yeah.
I think so. Amplifying the concerns I've heard.
And what?
Efforts such as the Climate Justice Initiative.
But that's what you're doing when you.
Yeah, stop the such as, yeah, just hold that off.
Take off, so prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability efforts.
Yeah.
Period.
Implementing
Okay.
existing plans.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah, because you,
Yeah,
Implementing existing plans.
Take action, like,
or take action on it, yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
To promote.
I like the word action.
What, if we do that, what happens?
We move the needle further because we're not diluting our efforts across a million different things. It's not what we write, but what comes to mind.
It's close. It's close. It's to move the needle on these issues.
To move the needle on these issues.
So, I mean, you want to prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability efforts.
To begin
To
taking
reduce
action
carbon
towards our
reduction by
goals.
50%.
Yeah,
Or-
to begin
You
taking,
have to get into the, you have to get into the objectives.
Or-
Just hold it broad.
So
to begin
something
taking
I-
action to address community goals.
Or to find efforts that maximize multiple sustainability goals. So for
Wait,
example,
that's
changing light bulbs doesn't do a whole lot for climate justice, but there's tons of stuff like resilience hubs that checks an adaptation box, that checks a climate resilience box.
Before you write, can we look at the reparations where it says short and long-term recommendations? And just say, to implement the short and long-term recommendations of the Climate Justice Initiative and Municipal Action Plan? Like, can we just, maybe those two are like the top
Those two aren't
priorities?
sufficient for me, honestly. I need to look at all of them.
And what if you brought it a little, just a little further? Prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability efforts to maximize impact and implementation.
There, okay. Well, that's kind of good, because it would elevate
Yeah.
bigger chunky
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
To maximize
In-
impact and equitable implementation.
That's fine.
Okay. Although remember how we talked about equity is in
I
everything,
know,
but,
but-
okay.
I do think that there's, I mean, getting wonky on this one, there's a long-standing, deep effort around climate change that has been non-equitable. I mean, that applies for all the things we're talking about, though. So, I don't.
But at a high level, that gets to what you're asking for, right? What you want to see the direction taken. Am I missing anything?
I think that gets closer to the concerns that I hear from community about, we invested the time and energy, better get done.
I can't help you.
Good.
Trying to finish it off. Just remember what you said.
You got it.
Can you live with and support
Equitable
this goal?
implementation of climate action.
And how did you work that in with the other, with the UDO? How did you work that in that?
Oh, that's a great point. Prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability efforts to maximize impact and equitable implementation.
Why not just plans?
And bring our zoning in line with our comp plan.
Capacity.
And
And,
bring our zoning in line with our comp plan. Yeah. Easy and to add.
Wait, what? Those aren't the same at all. No, those aren't the same at all.
That's
are
why we
they?
separated them.
Yeah, the zoning one. So can I suggest that we're like 96% of the way there, but we're also probably a little tired and that we ask staff to like make sure that's a grammatically full sentence, or do we want to spend a couple more minutes on it?
Can we just take out efforts and put plans?
Yeah?
Because we haven't said what we were, it's just efforts is real.
Plans, yeah, plans,
Yeah.
Take the
yeah.
plans out and put the word
So-
plans.
See where efforts is,
Yes.
make that work, make that.
How about
plans.
this? You're
sustainability
almost
to
there.
maximize, yeah.
Plans. And then to maximize equitable impact, period.
Here, okay. Right there, so.
Merging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other one
Prioritize
has to
resources
stay.
and capacity across climate and sustainability plans to maximize
Thank you.
equitable impact.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, hold on. So, prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability plans to maximize impact, equitable impact. Okay. The only, of course, I'm not opposed to including the word equitable, the only thing
Like,
that's.
should be everywhere. if we
Right,
include it
and
in
if we
one.
don't do that, then we need to go,
I hear that.
so can we just, because otherwise I feel like we're gonna, it'll be like, well, so then the rest of them aren't equitable?
Yeah, that's true.
Principle of the city. So.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, since it's an overlay, that'll be up front and center.
So you can actually take that out, maximize impact. Good.
Now,
Any more changes? Are you okay with it? All right.
the last statement, now, the last statement, are you gonna still do that separately?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the zoning.
I mean, is that, can we, I think you saw that there was support for that, can we, that's so action-y, can we put it under affordable housing?
I was gonna say, you
Yeah, I
have to
think
move
it's
it under
great
housing?
ways. Because our UDO might not, the changes might not just be about affordable housing, there's other things that our UDO does for our development community that we need.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
all ties
chapter
to
seven.
housing.
But I
It
thought
all
that
does
we
tie
were
to
saying it
housing.
was just chapter 7.
Well, I mean, it would affect transit and parks.
There's other goals than affordable housing, I think.
Just
Well,
how.
I mean, it's kind of weird though, that it's this one
But you know
Also
what, it
open
does,
space,
it
Okay.
will
Wait,
go
where
up
is
under
it?
housing. If it goes up under housing, that would make sense.
Well, hold on, where did it go? Where?
It's over
So-
here.
It's over here.
No, housing is over, no, I can't, I'm talking about
The
the,
statement, because if you
So
want to maximize
our
efforts
comp
and tools to
plan-
increase housing supply.
Our comp plan has a lot of goals. Some are about economic development, some are about.
can you read it again, Ed? What does
Yeah,
it
sorry,
say?
just about that.
What is that, what you say?
Bring our zoning in line with our comp plan. I mean, okay, but here's the head scratcher, it's under,
Neighborhood
what category?
and climate resilience.
Climate and,
Yeah, I mean, that's a little, like, just retool it for climate, I mean.
No, I think.
Right, no, I mean, I know it's not, but
It's
I.
not.
I think that what I'm trying to get to with this is that we did a huge amount of really important work with our community around the comp plan. And we continue to see one of our really important tools, chapter 7 of the UDO, not helping us fulfill that.
Absolutely 100% supportive and get it, it just is, it looks like a bullet action point under one of these headings.
it does seem more like an initiative and less of a goal.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's.
And I think that's what I'm hearing the mayor saying.
But you can help me understand this
To
part.
her point, it's not just housing. I think we could get it under housing. We were struggling to add things like,
I think it's
more planned stuff like adjacency to services and transit and stuff,
That's what
so
I was
we were
thinking too.
starting to get bigger and broader, but.
So what if the statement, because our UDO impacts all of our neighborhoods, which is why I had asked for it to be in this category, and our downtown is a neighborhood, our business districts are neighborhoods too, that the goal is to realize the vision of our comp plan by prioritizing updates in the UDO.
I just,
Or something
put it
of
under
that
housing
nature.
though, I mean, it's not,
Can
it can fit
I
under
ask
there.
a quick question for Maggie real quick? By focusing specifically on neighborhood and climate, what I heard you say earlier is we don't have the capacity to update the entire UDO.
Yes.
So this is prioritizing it for neighborhood and climate resiliency. Not asking staff to do the whole UDO update, but to prioritize
That's
the
true,
neighborhood parts
then
of
it
it.
If you
does fall
count
under-
Does that
downtown as a
mean what
neighborhood,
you're
yes.
trying to get at, or no?
Yeah,
As long as we all remember that downtown is a neighborhood,
yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay, I'm just trying to think about what that looks like in practicality.
Well, we
Brad
have
It's
also
been
is
easy.
wondering what
Staff
that
who
looks
will
like.
tell
It's
us what
been-
that looks like.
Okay.
This has been something that Todd worked on, this has come to us, we know it has a $500,000 price tag, we know it's a lofty undertaking and had an estimate of 5 years, we're just saying, let's
We've got it
start
started.
talking about it.
We'll have a new.
So does it
planning
need to go to goal level, or is it an initiative underneath this
It
goal?
stays at goal level.
Maggie wants it to say it's a goal level.
Where does it
I'm not-
go, Maggie?
I mean, I don't really get why we do that though. It's the only thing that is a
Yeah.
thing.
But the goal is to realize our comp plan vision for neighborhood and climate through updating the development chapter of the UDO.
So would it be included, would the comp plan in the parts that touches on environmental issues be an environmental plan that would be included in the full review? That's under number 1.
So updates to the UDO, like you started this earlier by saying, I've always heard we need updates to the UDO, and it's something I also champion. But it was specific in my efforts around the development chapters, around
Yes.
zoning, around transit, around distances and adjacency to things. It was too tall, too big, how do we make it better? Even like the stuff we're doing tonight with the 400 for neighborhood notices. All of that stuff is in there. We're not talking about the signage, you know, that chapter, we're not, I mean, it's not that. So it is specific to chapter 7, and it really does, I mean, other than commercial buildings and like some green goals, it could fall under this.
Well, see, when I first talked to you about it, I thought the reason you were talking about it was for the housing.
Well, and what is a
I
complete
just
housing
think
and community? It has commercial buildings, parks, schools, all the things, so. Where we
Right,
run into roadblocks the most with the UDO is in development.
I definitely think it's in development.
Yeah.
But are we just gonna look at it to address housing? What are we gonna look
I
at
don't
it for
think so.
economic development?
Yeah.
Right? Like the way that we regulate and zone things has impact towards economic development as well. So that's why I thought
Mhm.
neighborhoods would allow it to start out more broad. And quite frankly, we're gonna need quite a bit of iteration and staff and resources to focus in a little bit more. But I do worry that housing doesn't fully encompass transportation infrastructure, it doesn't encompass economic
Yeah, it's
development.
like we're missing a whole
strategies.
planning section.
So
Yeah.
one option, I'll float to you, we could add it in here, prioritizing resources and capacity across climate and sustainability plans and development regulations to maximize.
I mean,
Impact.
I feel like, once again, if we had just kept that list, we could just add it to the list. Our UDO chapter 7 and neighborhood plans.
And we're not losing the list. I mean, that's the other thing, is that I think this goes back to what I heard the mayor saying, is that this is one of the many that's in the list, and the 70 that you've already come up with. Again, we're not throwing this away. They've got to take this into consideration when they
And
come
run
to
that
your
one
plans.
again, that you just mentioned?
Prioritize resources and capacity across climate and sustainability plans and development regulations. So you do across climate, sustainability plans
How about that?
and
Is that-
development.
And we all know what that
Regulation.
means, right here and right now.
So it's then in the goal statement, it's like all these others that we're trying to get out of the weeds and get a little higher level, but it's not being
If
lost.
we do that, then we want equity back in there, because if it's about maximizing impact for development, I think that's gonna send a wrong message for neighborhood and climate resiliency.
Development regulations.
Development regulations.
So, since we're talking about just the UDO, specifically chapter 7, that's, and limiting it to the neighborhood climate impact, this is technically where you already have your goals, and I think what we're adding is not just across climate sustainability, but including in that the development regulation that plays a part in maximizing the impact of what you're trying to do there. So we would just say prioritizing resources and capacity across climate, sustainability plans, and development regulations to maximize impact.
It seems like it's a different project. It just seems like it's a really different effort. So I'm trying, like, the place that, so people are feeling like it doesn't match the others in its style. Is that the challenge you're seeing?
Yes. Well, not in style, in content, I mean.
If the goal is to like support neighborhood and
Is that
climate,
not, is that not workable?
And that's what I'm saying.
I don't know what that means.
And you know, with a new planning director coming on, it may not even be possible. It was Todd's baby.
Well, I mean, I guess one concern I have here is a general understanding of what the initiative is in and of itself, because I heard you kind of say it would be environmentally focused edits to the UDO, and I heard you feeling like it was, both of you talking about, I heard that it was housing.
I think it's bigger than both. I think that this has stemmed from the community saying for a long time, update the UDO, which is all of it, which touches many of these different goal areas. And collectively, people say, oh my gosh, we don't have the bandwidth to do that. And so looking back at our comp plan.
And when people say update the UDO, what they mean is update chapter 7, because
Typically-
that's what touches
Uh-huh.
most people.
Agreed, so
Meaning
instead
the-
of
yeah.
us picking between what is ultimately different major goals in the comp plan right now, using the comp plan as the reference and saying, hey, staff, if you wanted to update chapter 7 as best you could, based on the various goals from economic development to housing to
Why can't
climate.
it's just bring chapter 7 in line with the comp plan?
Yes,
Is
that
what
is-
I thought it was. And that could
agreed.
mean, or it could impact housing, could environmental, it could be all these different.
That's what I'm,
things.
and so that's why I think like bucketing it under housing alone
Sure.
would limit the breadth of what staff would
Well,
bring back
okay,
to us.
so,
What if we
Can
got
we
that specific
please
here?
take development regulations out, or not have, like, now it's like, it needs to be separate, I think.
I think they need to be separate,
So you're saying there's 2 goal statements for this area,
yes.
which means they can go in one.
but I'm not hearing support for that.
Okay.
Not because there's not support for the item, it's just because it's an actual initiative. And then we get into, well, I have a really important initiative that I wanna make an initiative that we, so I thought we were trying to capture. Okay, cause I mean, that feels like a little, I don't know. I'm trying to make sure, because I know everybody has various initiatives that are really important to them and they feel they're very important to the community. And I'm trying to honor the fact that everyone is holding their initiatives right here and trying to make sure they're captured by these goal statements. So not to lose the importance of the initiative, but how do we bring some wording to one of these goal statements that ensures that that big thing is included? How do we do that?
The best suggestion I have is that updating chapter 7 of the UDO with a focus on climate and sustainability is included in our existing list with our plans. It is one of our plans.
Well, but I'm hearing support for not just focused on, yes, climate and sustainability, but also.
Yes, housing, yes, economic development.
All the.
If that's the case, then it's covered in the word plans right here, climate and sustainability.
Well,
And housing, but it's so
we
broad.
want- It's not
It's just
just climate and sustainability in the comp plan to be incorporated in chapter 7, it's also housing.
So does, and development regulations get it, or is there a different way to say that?
Not under neighborhood and climate.
I mean,
it's
neighborhood
just
and
limited.
climate is
Yeah.
not. I will say the category of neighborhood and climate has sort of evolved in terms of what its general understanding is to be, and I would say this would, if the redo of chapter 7 is this broad, it would bust outside of just neighborhood and climate.
It would.
But we don't have like a,
Maybe there's a seventh goal area.
There might be, and it's really
What-
about planning and economic development. It's,
And our comp plan.
our comp plan is fairly new, but we're doing some of these things like missing middle, which is already UDO stuff. I mean,
well, and so this might be an opportunity to, I was showing Ed that we have a graphic of our policy goals, which we are not even talking about here. There are 8, you can imagine the graphic in your mind, there's 8 policy goals. And we actually developed these 6 that are listed around this room during our last retreat, which was kind of during COVID, and we developed these improve and expand core services, reparations, reimagining public safety, and they're very kind of honed in. And we're continuing to use them as the vehicle for moving forward with our strategic planning, which is a little confining because they were so narrowly focused in a time of crisis. So that's one of the challenges I think we're having, because the fact that rewriting chapter 7 doesn't fit under one of these is I think we're seeing the limitations of using this particular list, and we probably don't want to do that next time. We need to go blow back out and make sure we're,
Revisit your goal areas.
well, our policy
Right.
buckets, if you will, whatever we call them. So I just want to make note of that. We've probably, we've tired these ones out. But maybe what we need to do is wordsmith both neighborhood and climate and housing to make sure it grabs this
okay,
one,
yeah.
So,
just so we
If
don't.
we go back to our strategic vision and our 8 core themes, I don't see a lot that's specifically named about well-planned and livable community and financially resilient city, thriving local economy. Those are some big ones.
Oh, yeah, like, none of these even have an item that talks about transit. I mean,
maybe we should add a 7th now that has this as the first action item.
yeah, I don't know exactly what that looks like and if we have the time, but I'm just trying for now figure out how to, I'm just noting that we've got kind of a
Here's half of it. So we want to maximize, we want
efforts.
to maximize efforts and tools and plans to increase housing supply, blah, blah, blah. Because down here, what we're talking about is to reduce barriers to construction, which is really what we're talking about with.
Do you want to say plans or regulations or plans and regulations or something?
Plans and regs.
Yeah, okay.
Is that up there? This gets it into housing? It's not as bold as you want it, but.
But if we all
I
know
don't
what
think
it
it'll result in
means.
UDO changes.
Well, I mean, I think,
Yeah, if this isn't gelling.
When
I get
we
it.
take some of this to the committees and we work through bringing back strategic initiatives, we can capture the specifics of an adjustment to the zoning ordinance to address housing issues as well as climate justice issues.
Is it possible that could go to planning and economic development and
It can
Is it
go
possible we
wherever you all want to
Well,
assign.
or,
some
I mean,
examples
I-
like flow
We
of chart?
align these with
Deborah, are you
committees.
talking about just wordsmithing these goal statements?
Sure. We
Then,
can
then that should come back to the full council.
Council and then
But
back
in
to the
terms of
committee.
fleshing out the action
Specific
items under these
initiatives.
goal statements, that to me is committee level work, but
Yes,
if-
ma'am.
So,
Here's UDO in this one, let's just make it simple. Tools and plans and regs to reduce barriers to construction and prepare for UDO updates in the 2024 housing bond. Missing middles in there.
Yeah.
UDO updates, got the words in there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's,
Yeah.
I think it's missing the biggest picture, but if that's where we are, that's where we are.
Development on here, but.
That may be correct.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that.
Or like the
conversation
language that Kim was
mentioned
just
by
Oh,
some
it's kind of like
people,
the
but
water
again, it's not-
implementation.
This is not the time to do that.
Yeah.
You've got 6 goal areas that might have been narrowed because of COVID and the time that they were developed. You have another retreat coming up
we do.
next year.
Well,
At
yes,
least in 8
we
months,
always
10
have
months.
another retreat
Yeah.
coming up, Ed.
And that is the time to actually go back to that high level and say, okay, we have been missing the boat in whatever area it is, and create those bigger buckets. That's really where I would say. But for today's work session, you've got to 6 goal statements. You've got a next step of wordsmithing those 2 to maybe bring it in some way. Can you live with what we've got so far?
Yes.
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 Great work. I am 2 minutes over time.
What about that one that Sage just?
Do you want me
She
to,
just, yeah,
are you guys comfortable with those words in there?
Do you want that one, or do you want the original one?
we want the
We
ones
want
with the
that one.
words.
Add that, so tools
Kim, are
and
you
plans
okay
and
with the
regs.
new one? So I don't ever let anybody write on my
I think-
charts after.
I need some nods here. 1,
Yeah.
2,
Yes.
3. Thank, we got
Exactly where
it.
this
You're
is gonna
good.
go is these 2 are gonna bump into each other. We're gonna get a whole bunch of public comment about how, reducing unhinged, development is not gonna result in neighborhood resiliency, but sure, let's try it. Have some goals
Okay.
and do
Maybe.
equity all the time.
With that, Deborah, I'm gonna turn it back.
It's
over
not
to
an
you.
easy job.
You or something with the mayor to finalize. Do you have any comments that you want to add from what staff has taken away?
Thank you.
Good. And I want to thank you as well. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you
Thank you, Ed,
for
for
getting us
sticking with
through
us.
this.
It was
I
good
mean,
work.
honestly, I kind of had my doubts, but I am pleasantly surprised we did it.
You did it. I knew you could.
You never doubted us for a minute.
Never for a minute.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey, Ben,